An unspecified sentence which was a black mark forever, and then usually an offer of half pay to work at some backwater colony base or new base construction project with little or no law once the sentence was finished. And if you didn't accept that, good luck finding some quick way back to Earth, and you wouldn't be given much chance to do that either. You would be declared insolvent within days unless you had means and tossed into jail where the process would start all over again. The new law affected her because she was not yet a viable worker and the government had seized all of her parents' property and assets for unpaid life taxes, poor planning on their parts. She was essentially homeless, living on her 2-year service benefit. That benefit entitled her to government housing, education and job placement, meals, as well as a small monthly credit allowance, but it was not indefinite. It would continue for 3 years, for if she applied for the extension, time was running out. Of course, worst come to worst, she would re-enlist before she would allow herself to slip into an illegal existence and be shipped off to some penal colony. It was still far from a happy existence for her. Better if she were offered this job. No, she corrected, she needed to get this job. She turned her attention back to the intracruiser and saw that the first 2 shuttles had arrived in the first cargo hold and were offloading. If she were on that ship, it would be her job to monitor that offloading and reloading as it occurred. Even now, she would be doing her pre-flight checks as she did it. She would probably be thinking about her first off-planet trip. She had never seen Mars, Venus, or Io except in video clips and Sims. Her concentration was broken when she heard her name announced over the loudspeaker system in the lounge. She got up, gathered her case, and headed for Converse 4 as instructed. It was easy enough to find. 10 minutes later, she was strapped into a battered dock shuttle on her way to start answer. Earth date August 25th, 2096, 16:52 and 58 seconds. Start answer. Michael. He got a good look at Petra as he flagged her through the airlocks. All fresh air. Your basic space bug Earth bug delousing unit. People had at one time believed that space was sterile. A few serious contaminations early in the century had stopped that. Of course, the delousing process rendered you sterile. It was the same, male or female. The price you paid, so you banked your eggs or your sperm and didn't give it any more thought. Space travel, constant radioactive exposure, caused all sorts of birth defects. It only made sense. She was tall, blue-black hair, high cheekbones, Russian. The hair had to be dyed, but it suited her face, which was hard-edged and a little angular. Something past pretty, but less than beautiful. Maybe, he decided. He had read her information over twice as he had waited for transport. He had also picked up the Lounge 7 video feed, matching the description with what he saw so he better understood who he was looking at. He had initially gone by the name to conjure a description in his head. He had been far off, to say the least. He knew she was on thin ice, about a year left on her military benefits, and she would be declared homeless, probably insolvent shortly after that. Her only choices were military services or a foot in the door somewhere. Mike had no doubt she would use the job as a stepping stone, but it would set up his operations with Start Answer for the next 2 years, and he needed the stability back. Top 10% of her classes, short on military experience, only a 2-year plan. Fluent in 12 languages, double the average. She had no political advantages, so she had no opportunities in the corporate world. She needed him, it seemed, as much as he needed her. He buzzed her through the last lock, flushed the air, and then keyed his comm link. I've sent the L for you. It's a slow go traveling 300 decks, but it's programmed to bring you to the bridge. I'll see you in about 20 minutes, Miss Stanovich. She turned her dark eyes to the camera. Thank you. Start Answer Bridge. 17 hours 13 minutes and 22 seconds. Michael. Full gravity? Petra asked as she stepped from the L. He had met her at the elevator door, and they were walking the curved-in window-ported outer hallway that ringed the central area. It's magnetic, and yes, it's full-time. Does it feel like Earth? Very much so. I didn't think an intra. She colored. He laughed. Don't worry about it. You won't hurt my feelings. I know. Fresh out of service you must have seen technology that makes this old bucket look its age. She smiled, but her face was still flushed. Really? I do understand, and don't worry. The field is a perk. The feds installed it. They ship some gravity-sensitive stuff. There's a small cargo space directly above us and really sensitive destroy if captured stuff in security safes on the main deck. One deck down is the exercise suite. 2 decks down we have Fed living quarters. Federal troops every trip out. So, we get gravity full time. He smiled at her again and she smiled back. It's not perfect though. The mag field takes a little getting used to. It's never bothered me though, he finished abruptly, realizing that he had just run on longer than he needed or had intended to. What does it do? She asked. Side effects? Space sickness. Upset stomach, 2 of my navigators and 1 of the Fed crew. It lasted a few days and then they got their space legs. He laughed. You said exercise equipment? Another perk, I carry full crews outbound every trip and I almost always come back with a deadhead crew too. They're supposed to use it, but they rarely do. They tend to socialize together on their own deck. There's a small interdeck L that connects us. The exercise deck is state-of-the-art, weight machines, treadmills, elliptical, stationary bikes. It's nice. But shouldn't they check in with you? She seemed surprised. Mike shook his head and shrugged. Technically I am their captain, but in actuality they couldn't care less. They're company men and women, Fed military or company security, civilian transfers, and contract replacement personnel. They take their orders from the company or the on-ship assigned security chief. As long as they don't interfere with the running of my ship, we operate independently. You're used to chain of command. She nodded. Nothing like that here. We're like neighboring countries. My own crew stays here and the Fed crews stay there. I can't recall a time when I have met more than 2 or 3 of a crew at any given time. The security chief is Robert Baylor. He's been assigned to me for the last. He looked thoughtful. Something like 12 years. I meet with him before we begin each trip. In fact, he was just up here a few hours ago. I might see 1 or less of his crew during a trip, and of course my crew consists of me and a navigator, that's it. He shrugged once again. That's the reality of intra-cruising. You transport inmates? Petra asked. Sometimes, Mike agreed. I have some outbound this trip. I'll never see them. Would never know they are there except Baylor briefs me on them. When we reach 27, which is the Mars Max prison colony, they'll be offloaded. When we finish up, there might be some parolees to transport back. The parolees are up here with us? Petra asked. No, never. The only ones up here with us are members of my crew. That consists of me and thee if you take the job. They will house with the feds. Same goes for any hitch, just a name for anything earthbound that has a pulse. That is all Fed responsibility. She nodded and followed him onto the bridge. The bridge on an intracruiser is a very small area. It is at the front of the pod with a wraparound viewing port and a large viewing screen between the seats that could be switched to multiple feeds or single feeds anywhere on or off ship. Contrary to popular belief, even Mike's own until the 4th grade, there wasn't always anything of great interest to see in space at any given time. Most of the wall space was taken up with smaller flat panel displays hooked into ship systems. There were 3 console units with chairs directly facing the continuous port and center screen. You would be here with me most of the time. Mike waved his hand to include the entire room. Take your pick of seating. Any console can be configured the way you want it to be. Sit down, give a shot, it's pretty straightforward. She sat. pulled the overhead monitor down, and had the navigation screens up in just a few moments. She studied them for a few seconds. Looks easy enough. It is. Believe me, you'll be bored most of the time. Off duty, there's the gym. You'll house with me on our own deck. The rooms are small, just a built-in rack and lockers, drawers. There are 4 racks in each room, 3 rooms, so in theory I have the sleep space for 12 people. You can pick the room you want. I just spread out my vast collection of junk on the other racks in mine. Ship to Earth is always open. Just keep in mind we're on the backbone of the communication structure, so limited priority. It usually hits the stream in an hour or 2. We have personal view screens in the room and personal logs ship-wide. Vids, music, ebooks. You automatically have full educational credits and full access to anything fed. Anything you want to study, download it and you'll get credits for it. It will cost you nothing. A Fed perk. There are so many ways to fill the time. When would I have to decide? Mike looked at one of the wall monitors and the timestamp that ran along the bottom. You have about 4 hours from now. That will give me time to reconfigure rations, get your licensing in order, passport, extra fuel supplies. Or, you could think it over this trip and I'll be back in 13 months. Give or take. That's my average round trip. So you're offering me the job? She asked. She was a little wide-eyed. Absolutely. You're qualified. Listen, let's face it, you're overqualified. I'd be damn lucky to get you. The only thing I'd ask of you is the standard 2-year contract. She started to speak, but he held up his hands. You can't hurt my feelings. 2 years, as we both know, is the maximum benefit time for you, and it will give you the time to look around. It is an incredible world out there. You won't believe all the contacts and people you'll meet. It will give you some real time to breathe. Think about what you really want to do. I've got some good contacts I could point you at. You would do that for me? Absolutely. You do right by me, and I'll be happy to do right by you. Okay. She looked around the room. My stuff is in a locker off Lounge 7. It took him a second. Oh, you meant okay as in you'll take it, the job? She smiled. Sorry. Guess I forgot to add yes, I'll take the job. No, I'm a little slow. He turned back to his monitor and pulled up the restocking charts. Any particular wants or needs? We eat pretty standard stuff, reconstituted ready meals, but the Fed contracts load us up with all kinds of stuff. Perks again, but they are well stocked here at 14. Real coffee. Media. Whatever. He continued through the screens and began to recalculate the fuel requirements. Earth date August 25th, 2196, 003 and 51 seconds. Moon base 14. United Planet Technologies. Intra-cruiser, start answer. Mike ran down the lists as Petra pulled them up on her screens and checked them off. Flawless, he thought as he watched her. It looks good, Michael. It is good, Petra. Take it out. He picked up his mug of coffee, the first real coffee he had in a while. It sure beats synthetics. He felt the vibration as she threw the dock lock switches and expertly palmed the thrusters. Start answer did a slow, nearly perfect half turn, and then Petra did a longer burn to put them into the 10-mile safety limit before she could engage the hydrogen engines. Mike watched Moon Base 14 fall slowly behind them on the main monitor and then continued watching as Petra went through the pre-hydrogen drive checklists. He had done it so long by himself that he almost felt guilty sitting back and letting her take care of it. Nevertheless, it felt good, and he was looking forward to the company. 10 plus 001, Petra said. Kick him, he told her. She grinned at him and then reached forward and engaged the drives. Mike sat back and watched the red mileage numerals begin to move faster, and then he turned his attention to his own checks, cargo, decks, company crews. A few minutes later he was done, and he sat back and watched as Petra finished her calculations and sent them to his screen to check and approve. She began to program her side navigation console. Moon Base 14 was gone. The moon itself was a distant smear of dull gray next to the big blue ball. Sometimes there were things to look at in space. He sat back and relaxed into his chair and thumbed his log link. Intercruiser start answer 45 minutes and 28 seconds out of Moon Base 14. President Michael Watson, Chief Operating Officer, Petra Stanovich, Navigation Officer. We have at present 28 Fed crew and transporters under Commander Bob Baylor, C contract FQHPX 2879 for an individual manifest. In the advent of boarding protocols, be aware there are Fed inmates included in the manifest, and Deck Sub-02 is in a state of lockdown for the voyage per Commander Baylor. See Rule 2A, subsection 12 concerning any contact situation that may occur. Mars Prison Colony 27 will be our first stop, a resupply, see Manifest 97715. Mars 1 Tech Drop, see Fed Contract 771926F, our second stop. IO6, Last Drop, Prefab Building Shipment under Science Contract 279916BX. Watson out. He picked up his mug and sipped at his coffee while Petra did her own log. He had a navigator for the next 2 years. After that, maybe he would bite the bullet and spring for a star cruiser. He thought about it. He just might do it. Maybe it was time for a change. Maybe he could even run it by Petra and see how it sounded to another set of ears. Maybe it would even interest her.